Dila hai. Okay, I'm gonna say it again. Hi everyone.
Hi.
Great. So let's make this session interactive because I think this is relevant to everyone here and it's not just something to do with Web3. It's a very common thing, right? Branding is something that everyone can do. So let's start with a simple question. So if I ask you, what are some top automotive company brands that come into your mind? Like popular cars, any brands? Ford? Mercedes, Jaguar, Tesla. So, when I say these names, okay, let's also do this. Tell me some popular April brands, like clothing sector. Okay. Gucci, Zara, right? Cool. So whenever we hear these names, right, the first thing that comes to your mind must be the logo, the quality of the fabric, your experience of wearing it, or the showroom experience, etc., right? So when you hear these brands, there's an image that is there in your mind, right? And the brands have created it. So if I say Gucci, you think of a luxury brand. If I think of, a local brand, you will say that, okay, it's a local brand. And you also have an idea of the pricing and everything. So branding is something that is present everywhere around us. And the thing is that it's not just limited to brands, right? Even people can have their personal brand. And this is what this session is going to be about. Since you all are in Web3, so we are going to talk about how you as Web3 developers can build your brand. So let me ask you one more question. Who are some popular people in the Web3 space? Okay, or like what else? Francisco. Great. Who else? Who else comes to your mind? Patrick Collins? Right, so these people have done something that makes you think of them, and you know their work, you know their expertise, etc. And trust me, they do not have anything superpower that they were born with, which led them to this point, and that you all know them today. It's something that they have worked hard towards, and it's not something that you can't do. So that is what we're going to discuss in today's session, that how can you also achieve the same. So, what is a strong personal brand and why you should be here? Because a strong personal brand can help you get the job you want, the clients you want, and the opportunities that you want to build a successful career as a Web3 developer or any developer in general. So before I start, I would like to give a quick introduction of myself, but just a show of hands who all already know me from some or the other platforms. A lot of you, right? So, great. So I'm Khushboo, I'm a software engineer at Apprite. I'm not a Web3 developer as such, but it's a space that I want to explore, and which is why I'm here. And as I said, branding is something which is not restricted to any particular niche. Everyone can do it. As we discussed, there are brands in every single sector that you can think of. So these are some numbers that I have on my social media today, and these are my handles. If you want to connect with me, we can connect. So now let's talk about the very basic question. What is personal branding, right? So personal branding is an opportunity for you to establish your identity, right? So whenever you go somewhere and you introduce yourself to people, there is some image that you're trying to create, right? And people will anyway have some or the other image of you. But personal branding is just a way for you to decide how people see you, right? Just imagine you have that power to decide what kind of image people will have of you, right? And you have this opportunity to create that and to make sure that if people talk about opportunities in a room, then they take your name. How will that happen, right? If they do not know about your work, if you don't speak about it, how will someone know? Let's say that today at the conference, some other sponsor wants to hire a Web3 developer or a developer advocate. And let's say you're very good at it. Let's say you're an excellent developer, but you don't talk about it. Only you and the present employer knows that how good you are. Don't you miss that opportunity? You do, right? So personal branding is a widely recognized impression of an individual based on their experience, expertise, competencies, and achievements within a community or an industry. So since you all are into Web3, I'm pretty sure you are doing some jobs in that space, or you're aspiring to do that jobs, right? So it's important that you establish yourself as someone that when I think of Web3, let's say today someone comes to me and says, hey Khushboo, I'm looking to hire a software developer in this particular area, right? And if I know you, and even if you're not there, your name will come up, right? So that is how opportunities reach you, and which is why it's important for you to have that personal brand. And now let's talk about Web3. So we all know that Web3 is changing the way people are interacting with internet. There's a lot of focus on decentralization, privacy, security, cross-border payments, everything, right? And they're empowering users, etc. And you all are the early adopters into the space. I still think that Web3 is just getting started, and I'm pretty sure you all share the same sentiment that there is going to be a lot of opportunities. So since you are the early adopters, you have to make that, you have that opportunity to make that initial mark, so that as the field becomes more and more prominent, you become the early pioneers and your names are being taken as experts. And as I discussed, branding is not just about logos or colors, right? It's much more than that. It's a sentimental value that is associated with the brand. It builds trust, right? So for example, you are an interviewer, okay? And you are given an option to hire 2 candidates. Like you have an option of 2 candidates, and both of them are equal in their skill set, right? Let's say you know one of them, you have heard of one of them, and there's another one you have not heard of. What will be your bias? The one you have heard of. The one whose work is out there in public, and you have seen them, and you have not just seen their work, but you've also seen how they react, what is their behavior, what is their attitude, what is their personality. And I'm not kidding, this is actually a very, very important thing that companies look for. Cultural fit round is something that is there in the hiring process of a lot of companies. Even when I was hired, I had a very, very significantly important cultural fit round. And how can you establish that? If I am hiring you with just one interview, I'm taking a bet on you, right? So why will someone take a bet on me just on one interview? If I give them more data points of showing them that this is who I am, this is a personality that I have. And I'm pretty sure, if you look at someone on social media, you know what kind of person they are, right? You know what kind of things they react to, how they talk, what kind of content they post, what are their ideologies, etc. So it's an opportunity for you to establish that how you want to present yourself in the world of decentralized ecosystem. So for example, Anam is a friend, and I just told someone that, hey, I'm living with Anam, I'm sharing a room, and my friend was like, oh, that girl who's in Solana, right? So that is the kind of brand that she has built for herself, that people now know that, okay, she's someone who is good at Solana. So that is what you can do for yourself as well. And one easy way of doing it is storytelling, right? Why? Because since we all were kids, we have been told stories, right? Our parents, our grandparents used to tell us stories, and that is how we used to relate to different concepts in life. And as human psychology, as humans, we are intended to listen to stories, to connect with them, and have a relatability factor. So, for example, on social media, if you want to present yourself as someone like a storyteller, so what you can do, there are 4 basic elements of a story. A relatable protagonist, which is you as a developer. So let's say that you are learning some new technology and you want to talk about it, right? So you can just talk about yourself, then the challenges faced. So let's say you are learning about Ethereum and you don't know what it is. So you ran into some challenges. You were running some code and it had a bug. That is a challenge, right? Then the solutions developed. You will sit on the problem, you will think of multiple solutions, and then you might come up some things, and then you might think that, oh, this could have been done in this way as well. Why does the documentation not state that? You will discover some or the other solution. And then the impact on the Web3 ecosystem. So you might learn something, and then you might go to your college, you might do some events, and you might spread the word about it, right? So all this is an experience, and you do not have to be an expert in any field to be able to talk about it. When I started out on social media, the first thing I did was that if I used to attend events, for example, I were a student and if I would be attending this event, I would talk about it on social media. I would just say that I attended one session, this is what I learned, right? It does not have to be that you are the expert and you have to share a lot of things, right? It does not work that way, because let's be honest, we can't be experts at everything, and we can never call ourselves an expert, because there is always something to learn. The more you learn, the more you can dive deeper into it, and there will never be a point where you feel that, okay, now I'm eligible to speak on this topic. Now I'm not saying that, speak about anything, but definitely don't let that inferiority complex stop you from doing something. Okay, so now let's talk about why it is important. So we already discussed one example that if you are an interviewer and if you have 2 candidates, you will definitely choose the one that you trust more. It also helps you stand out from the crowd, right? So if there are 100 developers sitting here and 2 of them are, let's say, very famous on one particular platform, all of them would already know their skill sets, right? So if an opportunity comes up, I will not think that, okay, let me just screen all the 100 people and give this opportunity. If I know someone who is already good at it, I might prefer them, right? And it also helps you stand out from the crowd in the sense that today we are living in a world where we have global opportunities. Like companies in the US, companies in Dubai, Singapore, everywhere they are looking for developers and they are not restricted to one area. Work from home is a real thing. Remote work is a real thing. How many of you are working remotely? Look at the percentage in this room, right? So now our opportunities are not limited to the country or the location we are at. There is no need for us to go to offices, and sitting in India, sitting in Goa today, you can be contributing to a code base which is, of a maintainer in US, right? So how will they find you? My simple point is, if you don't talk about your work, who will talk about it for you? No one, right? So you will have to pave that way for people to know you and give you the opportunities that you deserve. And it leads to opportunities, right? As I again and again mentioned, that if an opportunity comes up and if I know you, my first instinct would be to give you that opportunity. And as I mentioned, it builds trust and your network. The main purpose of attending conferences is definitely to attend the sessions, but even more than that, it's the network that you create. You are sitting in this room, let's say 100 or 80 people here, right? Talk to each other. Tell about your work. That is personal branding as well. It does not have to be on social media. It does not have to be at a larger forum. It can start right here. Let's say you talk to people and right now you don't have, first of all, it does not have to be transactional. It does not have to be that, okay, I'll only talk to VCs or investors or founders, right? It can be to anyone because they might know someone who knows someone who needs a developer, right? So that is the point, that just start with it. And we all know that it's a virtual resume these days. Who all are on GitHub? Everyone, right? So GitHub is our virtual resume. Similarly, there are like profiles, I don't know about Web3 specific ones, but I'm pretty sure there must be platforms where people, maybe some Discord communities, Telegram channels, where there are people who are constantly interacting and they're creating the digital footprint for themselves. And it's something that we all know that these days, since we all have a digital footprint, people always screen you online. You might not know who is looking at your profile these days, and you all know that even today platforms like Twitter, even they have recognized that the people who are creating content regularly, they are also rewarding them. So it means that there is a market for content creation, there is a market for personal branding, and it is the right time for you to seize that opportunity. Now let's get to how can I do it, right? You might be sitting here and you might agree that it's very important, but you might be wondering, how can I do it, right? So let's talk about some basic do's and don'ts. So first of all, as I mentioned, social media is very important. We all are living in a digital world and having that presence over different platforms is important. But then again, where do I start, right? So there are multiple platforms, and there is one thing that I can tell you from my personal experience, that every platform is known for something. So for example, YouTube is meant for long form content. If you are a Web3 developer, you can create some video tutorials. You can talk about how to use something. You can build a project and you can put a video of it. So we all know that if I want to watch a tutorial, I'll go to YouTube and I'll watch it. Similarly, Twitter is a place, personally I feel, where conversations are a lot more easier than LinkedIn and other platforms, because there is no barrier to entry, in the sense that on LinkedIn you have to be a connection to be able to send a message to someone. But on Twitter, most people have their DMs open, and if you just message them, there is a high chance that you might get a reply, right? Then we have LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is known for, again, long form text content, and also for reaching out to recruiters, because it's easy to filter out people on their job profiles, their experience, and talk about your experience. It lists down your career in a reverse chronological manner. So that's about LinkedIn. And then social media is not the only platform, right? There are offline presence also matters. So as I discussed, you are at the conference, it's an offline platform, talk to each other, build those networks, and try not to make it transactional. It should not be like, okay, I'm telling you something, you should also tell me something in return. That does not work that way. Think of these things as a long-term, option for you, and they should just know you. And if you come across any opportunity, you should also let them know, right? That is how it should work. It should be a community effort where we all help each other grow. Because let's be honest, what do you think? What is the percentage of Web3 developers in the entire global community which are at this conference? Hardly 1%, right? So it's not like if you are helping each other, then the competition is increasing. Because as we discussed, the competition is global. So just try to help uplift the people around you. If they're doing something, share their project. If you have a Discord server and some friend of yours builds a great project, share it, right? Because what it does, it helps in creating a proof of work. We all agree that words are dime a dozen, but it's the actions that count, right? I can say that I'm an excellent developer and all that, but is that true? How will someone believe me? So you have to create a proof of work. And now for you, what you can do is that you can create some projects, you can speak at conferences, you can upload your projects to GitHub, you can talk about it on Twitter, you can talk about it on LinkedIn, and if not, you can write blog posts around it. So there are multiple ways of doing it, right? If you're not comfortable with your face being visible on a video, you can do an audio podcast. I have a friend Jatin who runs an amazing podcast. If you're not even comfortable with that, and if you like writing content, you can have a blog post. You can, if you don't want to write long form content, you have Twitter and LinkedIn where you can just talk in short, right? Just have that proof of work somewhere, because one thing is that if I know someone and I just send them my resume and then they reach out to me, whereas there can be a way that you are just putting your work out there and some people you don't even know, right? They are looking for someone with your skill set and they will reach out to you, right? So that is what an opportunity you can create for yourself. And the most important thing, right? Staying consistent is the most important thing. It's not gonna happen that you start today and you have like 100K followers tomorrow, right? Francisco is here, I'm here. We all started with 0, and I think we have been following each other for a long time since we were not even like huge accounts, right? So I have seen a lot of my friends go from 0 to like 100K in a matter of an year or 2 years, and it's possible. And they're not doing anything extraordinary. The only thing that they're doing is that they're being consistent in what they're doing. They're taking it one day at a time. They're trying to leverage the existing network to grow it even further. And they're not doing it with the expectation of getting something today. They're just putting their work out there. Because if they will not speak about it, you and I are not going to know what they are good at. So now, how can you leverage it better? So engage with the Web3 community. If you see any, if you are on Twitter, try to follow people who are creating amazing content in the Web3 space. How I personally do it is that if I know someone who is doing great, I look at who are they following, right? Because the best way to discover newer accounts is to see that who are the people that the person I follow are, who are they following. And then I do this recursive approach. That I go to their account, then their account, and their account. And that is how you can discover interesting accounts, and that is how people can also discover your account. So try to engage, because let's say creating content is one thing, but then that can only give you a specific reach. So if you engage with the content of others, you're also getting the reach of their audience, right? For example, Twitter Spaces, right? So let's say I post a space and someone joins my space, right? So my space is also shown, like let's say they're a speaker in my space, so my space is also shown to their entire following, right? So if someone with let's say 1 million followers joins my space gets the visibility of my account plus their account, right? So which is why it's very important to engage with the content of others. If you know someone, just share their work. They might share your work in the future, we never know. And then collaboration is the key, right? We all are here to build something amazing. And when two people come together, we say that 2 and 2 make 11, because that is the power of teamwork. And you today have a community around you, people who are interested in the same ecosystem, who are building the same kind of things. Just talk to them, ask them, what are you building? Can we do a project together? Do that project together, share the responsibilities. Let's say someone is good at UI, UX, someone is good at design, someone is good at backend. Just bring all of that together, make those amazing teams, and participate in hackathons, keep on doing the amazing work, right? And then cold messaging is something which is very important. Sometimes opportunities might not come to you directly and you might have to make an extra effort to get them. So cold messaging is something that you all can do on social media. If you know a company which is hiring, or even if you know that they're not hiring but I want to join them, just drop them a text. Now, how to write this text? Don't say hi. Okay? Because no one who is busy is gonna tell you, hi, tell me. That is not gonna happen, right? So when you are about to ask someone for something, it has to be respectful of their time. It has to be formatted in a very nice way. So a couple of pointers to keep in mind here. Draft one single message, which has all the information. It has to be concise. It can start with, let's say, an appreciation of their work, or you can just say that, hey, I just came across your company through this medium. Then this is who I am. Give a brief introduction of yourself. Keep it professional, keep it to the point, and then also attach some links that are relevant. So for example, your resume can be important if you're applying for a job. So you can just attach it in the same message and just leave it with a note of action, like call to action. So you can just ask them, hey, can I schedule a 25-minute call, 20-minute call with you, or can you take a look at my resume and let me know if you have any opportunities, and just have a thank you, right? Just one message, clear, concise, to the point, respectful, and let's say that they don't reply to you immediately, maybe follow up 2 days later. If they still don't apply, there are 100,000 people out there, just keep on reaching out to more and more people. So cold messaging is a very, very important thing, and it can open doors to you that you don't even think that were there in the starting. Now, when we talk about do's, there are certainly some don'ts, right, which you should not do. One thing, do you all agree with me that whatever I do today is gonna stay on the internet forever? There is nothing like privacy, and we all know that, right? So whatever you are doing, I see a lot of people on Twitter just ranting, just writing something. And let me give you an example. When Parag Agrawal became the CEO of Twitter, people did his old tweets, and we all have seen those memes, right? Do you want yourself to be in that position where tomorrow you work very hard and get a very high leadership position, and someone goes to your profile and digs out tweets that you don't want to be digged out? No, right? So you have to be mindful about it from day one. You are creating a social image of yourself, and you don't want your digital footprint to be seen in a negative limelight. Then the second thing is reflect. So as you keep on growing on social media, you might get reached out to by some brands to promote them, and they might offer you some money. So I know that Web3 has a lot of money. So I was talking to a friend who got like a very high offer to promote a brand, okay? And he said no. Why? Even though he was getting a lot of money, but you have to think in the long term. What is that money today? You might earn 10x, 100x tomorrow, right? So you have to ensure that you do not dilute your brand. You have to reflect on it. Is it something that will add value to me? Not just today, but tomorrow as well. So only do things that are going to add to your brand, and do not indulge in anything that does not help you build your brand, and do not engage in controversies. I know that gives a lot of reach, but again, be mindful. And also one more thing is very important. Don't use the same strategy on every platform. So we talked about LinkedIn and Twitter. So as I mentioned that every platform is different, so don't just follow the same content like structure everywhere. Twitter has used to have threads as a medium. Now you can just write the entire content in one tweet. That is one way, but LinkedIn works differently, YouTube works differently. If you are just starting out, then I will say just go ahead and post it on every platform, but as you grow, just curate it to a specific platform, right? And don't say yes to every opportunity. Very important. We all know that work culture is important. We all know that having a good career growth is important. Today you might get an offer which is very lucrative, but you might know that the company is engaging in some unethical practices. Do not take those offers. Because let's be honest, if I'm coming from a company which is known for not having a good culture, and if you want to hire me tomorrow, you will know that in some or the other way, I'm going to bring that culture with me to your new company. And you do not want that person. So do not say yes to every opportunity, very important. And now, how can you leverage communities? I know Web3 ecosystem also has a lot of communities. You all are a part of some of them, I'm pretty sure. So again, if you are a part of a Discord server, Telegram server, just collaborate with people. You can also volunteer for things. Let's say someone is organizing Web3 conference. You can just say that, hey, I can help you bring sponsors. You can just say that, hey, I know someone and I can help with this. There are a lot of volunteers here, right? You all have taken some initiative. Take some initiative, collaborate, ask people, hey, what are you working on? You will never know, that might open doors to a lot of opportunities. Then take leadership, So I have been a part of multiple communities myself, and one thing that I've observed is that the way I grew in those communities is because I used to take a lot of leadership. And the best thing about communities is that you do not have to have X years of experience to take on a leadership position. We all agree that even as students, we can be the lead of any club, we can lead an initiative, we can organize an event, we can lead a community, right? So if you are in that place, do that. Especially if you're trying to take on developer, advocate or DevRel roles, because in those roles you will be responsible for taking initiatives, doing things out of the box, collaborating with people, networking with people, and it will be a people, in any role, it's always a people problem, right? Even if you are an engineering manager, you are managing a team of people. So communities are giving you that platform at a student level, at an early career developer, right? You do not have to have 10 years of experience to become a leader. So try to leverage communities to do that. And obviously, we all at the end of the day want a good job, which brings us satisfaction, where we see career growth, where we see good opportunities to grow financially and skill-wise. So try to leverage these communities for career roles. Ask people where are they working, ask them why do they like that role, ask them how they got in, ask them how can they apply, how can you apply, ask people to review your resume, your profile. Trust me, it might feel awkward in the beginning, but once you start doing it and once you start seeing the benefits of it, you will be really amazed by the results that you see. And again, public speaking is also very important. A lot of us are hesitant to speak on the stage, and if you do not want to speak on the stage directly, so let's say that you get an opportunity to ask a question in this group, okay? And you have never spoken in a public forum, just take it as an opportunity. Take baby steps, ask one question, lead one session, speak in a smaller group, then go to a huge conference, speak on that stage. Because once you are speaking there, you will build confidence, you will build your communication skills, and you will also bring visibility to yourself and your work. So that's it. These were the action items from my side. These are my social media handles, and I built these slides with SlidesGo, so I would like to give them a shout out. And any questions? Yeah.
So basically, when someone is starting, I started on posting content on Instagram and a bit on Twitter. So what do you suggest in the initial, while you're working, is it okay to post, target all the platforms at once, or be just start with one, build there, and then move to other platforms?
That's a great question, and that becomes even more relevant if you have a full-time job, where you also have to dedicate time. And as we discussed, that consistency is very important. So if you start with 10 platforms at a single time, you won't be consistent in any of them. So my suggestion, and I have a lot of creative friends, so one suggestion that they all have is start with 2 platforms. One can be Instagram, one can be YouTube, because the content you create for YouTube can be repurposed for Instagram, right? You can just clip it. So just try to pick 2 platforms which are similar. For example, Twitter and LinkedIn are very similar, YouTube and Instagram are very similar. You can also do some audio podcasts on Spotify and put that on YouTube. So just try to start with 2 platforms, be consistent. And one thing I've observed is that if you have a following on one platform, it's easier for you to grow on other platforms, right? Because you can just transfer that audience. So do not focus on too many things, don't be in too many boats at the same time. Start small. Once you figure out the things, how the algorithm works, then just keep on expanding. Hope that helps. Any more questions?
Compared to when you first started building your personal brand versus today, how did the time distribution change between working on your actual full-time job building software versus putting your time into creating content? Did it increase or did it decrease, or did it stay the same?
So see, you will not always have the same amount of content to post every time, neither you will have the same ideas every time. So I'm pretty sure everyone would agree that they run out of ideas time and again. So if you feel that there is a time of something, for example, Twitter Spaces. So during COVID, Twitter Spaces were a thing, right? And me and a lot of creators leveraged it at that time. I knew that it was something that was booming, and I saw an opportunity, so I invested more time there. Today I do not do that any longer because I feel that I have much more important, like my interest has changed, right? So if you feel that, so see, the thing is that you would only be excellent at the things that you love, right? So if you feel like doing something today, do it. Like no one could have imagined that content creators would be earning so much, right? A couple of years ago. And if they would have thought that, okay, this is not conventional and I should do some proper job, they would not have become what they are today. I'm not saying don't focus on your job, but what I'm trying to say is that like for me, the interests changed over time. At one point I felt like, okay, that was important, I did that. At one point I feel like my work is important, so I focus more there. So it will always happen. There is no straight answer to this.
It's about flexibility.